Thank you for joining us on NTV Weekend Edition. This is what you can expect.
Tonight, the pangs of hunger continue to bite. 2 more die in Turkana, and over 1 million Kenyans face acute starvation as drought hits 12 counties. Plus, the wait continues for families of crash victims.
I was in the crash site and I could confirm that there are no remains that we could get in there. The only thing that was there, they are just fragments.
DNA test results to take 6 months as families seek death certificates from authorities. Also tonight, the gloves are off in the Ruto Raila tiff.
You are not qualified to give us a lecture until you are sentenced for treason.
Wakipumua, Raila Odinga. Chungeni sijako kwenye bedroom pia mkasema Raila Odinga.
And the voice of reason calling for cooling of political temperatures between the two. And it's jail time for convicted rapist. Wajir man to serve 20 years for gang rape as his 2 accomplices are sought.
NTV Weekend Edition with Gladys Gachanja.
Thank you for staying with us. Our sign language interpreter tonight is David Agondoa. Now, 2 more people have died of hunger at Nakaparaparai village in Turkana County. The death toll has now risen to 11. This is after 7 people died due to starvation in Baringo County and 2 more died in Turkana on Wednesday. Meanwhile, close to 1 million Kenyans might be in dire need of food, and the situation could get worse if the long rains fail to start. The National Drought Management Authority has warned that the situation will worsen in the coming weeks. Well, we are expecting pictures of that story later on in the bulletin. Well, families of the victims of the Ethiopian airline crash have been advised to wait for letters that would aid them to process death certificates at home. The DNA samples of most of the blood relatives have been collected and the results are expected in 6 months. NTV's Charity Mwangi, who is in Addis Ababa, has the details.
When we got here, we found the families were a little bit devastated. They were not sure of what was happening. They were complaining about the flow of information. They were saying that they were not really getting the very answers that they were seeking. But since the visit to the site yesterday, the mood seemed to have changed. The families seem a little bit more content, and most of them, regardless of the very emotional period that they had yesterday, after the visit, they seemed as though they were coming to terms with what happened to their loved ones.
We as a family is that we want to have a closure, and closure is really painful because I was in the crash site and I could confirm that there are no remains that we could get in there. The only thing that was there, they are just fragments.
We were all very reluctant and very scared to tell families the devastation of the crash and that really everything had been destroyed, because you don't know how to tell somebody there is nobody.
Licha ya kwamba imekuwa ni vigumu sana kwetu, lakini tumekubali mambo ambayo yametendeka.
Earlier today we were able to witness them getting the letters that will help them process death certificates for their loved ones, which is also a step in the right direction for them. The issue of compensation, it is still very early to tell what is to happen with that process, although we anticipate that they will follow the Montreal Convention, and so we will be following up on what is to happen as far as that issue is concerned. As for the families still here, because we've already witnessed some of them leaving, we have seen a group of people that continue to accept the situation as it is, and even back at home we anticipate that indeed their family members are waiting for them to be able to mourn this very great loss. Here at the embassy they were able to sit in a requiem mass. There were 32 candles that represent the 32 Kenyans who died in the crash. Also there were 34 candles that represent the 34 nations affected by this very devastating event. From Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, my name is Charity Mwangi.
And back to a top story which is also devastating. 2 more people have died of hunger at Nakaparaparai village in Turkana County. The death toll has now risen to 11. This is after 7 people died due to starvation in Baringo County and 2 more died in Turkana on Wednesday. Meanwhile, close to 1 million Kenyans might be in dire need of food, and the situation could get worse if the long rains fail to start. The National Drought Management Authority has warned that the situation will worsen in the coming weeks.
Turkana region is facing one of the worst droughts, with more than 800,000 people in need of food aid. For the last 12 months, Turkana's water tables have gone down drastically due to drought. Residents of Nakaparapai village are in dire need of food and water after a severe drought hit the area. Schools have closed down and the 2 boreholes that serve the residents have dried up. Locals have raised an alarm over deaths of 2 people due to hunger, with focus now on the state and the aid it can provide to keep death and suffering at bay.
Kiangazi imeweza kutuadhiri kwa ukubwa, kwa njia kubwa sana. Wengine wetu hata saa tukizungumza hivi hawaamuki kwa sababu ya ukame. Wenzetu walituacha ni kwa approximate ni 2, 3, na ni baa la njaa ndio iliweza kuwapeleka. Na hata hivyo tungependa serikali itusaidie kwa njia yoyote ya au watu kufikiwa na chakula, maji, ili maisha ya wale wamebaki isiharibike.
This brings the death toll to 4 people who have lost their lives to starvation in Turkana. 7 people died due to starvation in Baringo County, bringing the overall death toll to 11 people. Women, the elderly and children are the hardest hit by the drought because of their limited movement in the search for water and food. More than 50 primary schools in the arid areas of Baringo County risk closure due to lack of food and water. This follows the persistent dry spell in the area, which has led to the drying up of major water sources. Locals are now forced to dig barrow-like wells on dry riverbeds to assess the diminishing resource. Reports suggest that the situation is slowly worsening, with close to 1 million people in 12 counties facing starvation. Turkana and Baringo counties are the most affected, and the situation could worsen in the coming weeks. On Friday, Devolution Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa led relief aid distribution in some parts of Turkana County, which has the highest number of people in need of food aid. The CS said there is enough food in the country and no citizen should die from hunger. Rosongoi, NTV.
To some politics, Jubilee leaders allied to Deputy President William Ruto now want the Director of Criminal Investigations to arrest ODM leader Raila Odinga and charge him with treason if the office is serious about dealing with impunity in the country. The leaders say the DCI is applying double standards by arresting those who commit small crimes, while Odinga walks scot-free a year after committing what they call a capital offense. The Deputy President, on his part, insists that the criticism by the opposition towards government projects is meant to distract government projects. Daniel Mule with more.
Deputy President William Ruto held several public rallies in West Pokot and Elgeyo Marakwet counties, where he assured residents that their Roar and Kimwarere dams projects in that area will be completed just like the rest of the 57 dams in the Jubilee manifesto. Ruto warns residents to ignore leaders talking ill about the projects with the selfish aim of getting political popularity and to undermine his chances to rise to the country's leadership in 2022.
We are going to stop the nonsense and the propaganda and the narrative that is being used so that the Jubilee program is stalled and then it becomes a benefit for our competitors in the future.
Leaders allied to the Deputy President say Raila Odinga is using the handshake to stir divisions in Jubilee to benefit himself, saying the DCI should arrest him for treason.
Raila Odinga alienda kujitangaza kwa Uhuru Park, akasema yeye ni rais wa kando. Akachukua kitabu akainua juu kusema amekuwa rais. Taifa la Kenya kupitia ofisi ya DCI wakaenda kushika mtu anaitwa Miguna. Wakashika mtu anaitwa Tom Kajwang. Wakawapeleka kotini kustaki kwa mambo ya treason. Lakini mwenye alishika Biblia na kujitangaza rais anamangamanga kwa Kenya, hajashikwa na DCI kwenda kuulizwa maswali.
He's hit at the DCI for what he says is shortchanging Kenyans in fight against corruption and impunity by targeting the small fish, leaving out the biggest of them all.
You are not qualified to give us a lecture until you are sentenced for treason, and then maybe Uhuru Kenyatta will forgive you because there is a presidential pardon. Then you can now come and tell us a lecture kwamba nimeokoka.
The DP's allies have expressed confidence that the Jubilee fraternity will support Deputy President Ruto in his 2022 presidential quest.
Na tunakuhakikishia kwamba 2022 William Ruto tosha.
Kura yako iko kwa fixed deposit account. Hakuna mtu atatoa.
Huyu mtu alijitangaza rais, tukishamshinda kwa sababu tutamshinda, tuko na uhakika gani ya kwamba ataenda Uhuru Park kujitangaza rais mara ya pili?
The leaders say they will ensure Raila won't succeed in fooling President Kenyatta using the handshake at the expense of their party. Daniel Mule, NTV.
On the same note, a group of MPs allied to NASA leader Raila Odinga today took a swipe at Deputy President William Ruto, cautioning him against dragging Odinga into the war against corruption. The MP spoke even as the Auditor General, Edward Ouko, said his office has begun investigating the Aror and Kimorer Dam scandal. The MPs who spoke in Mathare area in Nairobi also called for the arrest of Treasury Cabinet Secretary Henry Rotich over the alleged payment of 21 billion shillings for the construction of the dams. NTV Silas Apollo reports.
Speaking during a funds drive to raise money for women groups in Mathare constituency, MPs allied to ODM leader Raila Odinga slammed Deputy President William Ruto, accusing him of politicizing the war on corruption. They say that statements by Ruto while on a tour of Kisii County on Friday were reckless and unfortunate, and warned him against dragging the name of Odinga into the fight.
Ati sasa mumekwama, ati kila wakika, Raila Odinga. Wakinywa chai, Raila Odinga. Wakipumua, Raila Odinga. Chungeni sije kwa kwenye bedroom pia mkasema Raila Odinga.
The MP spoke even as Auditor General Edward Ouko said investigations into the Aror and Kimorer dams will help establish the amount of money lost by the taxpayer and have those involved prosecuted.
The investigation, as you know, is being handled by DCI, and we are also cooperating very much with the DCI as well as DPP to ensure that these investigations are going to be solid in a manner that it can lead to the proper, if at all there is any culpabilities, it will be dealt with at the judiciary level.
Ruto had on Friday accused Odinga of using the fight against corruption to rock the Jubilee Party, but the ODM MPs objected, instead defending Odinga, saying the dragon, which is corruption, must be slayed.
And therefore we want to say that Raila Odinga and ODM and NASA is not going to bring down this country. The people who are going to bring down this country are the people who are supporting corruption activities in Kenya. Mimi naomba baba Raila Odinga, Ruto does not play in your league. Wachana na huyo Ruto, sisi tupambane na yeye mundu komundu.
Yes, we are targeting a tribe. Na hiyo tribe is no other than called corruption. So if you belong to that tribe called corruption, we are coming for you.
They also called for the arrest of Treasury Cabinet Secretary Henry Rotich over payments his office is said to have made towards the construction of the dams.
We want to ask DPP, please gather enough evidence, and next week we want to see the Minister for Finance being arraigned in court, because we are convinced beyond reasonable doubt that there is his hand in this scandal.
The Director of Criminal Investigations has summoned Rotich alongside his devolution counterpart Eugene Wamalwa and Mwangi Kiunjuri of Agriculture over the dam scandal. All the three have, however, maintained their innocence. Rotich had earlier said that about 21 billion shillings was paid for the project, contradicting claims by Deputy President Ruto that only 7 billion shillings had been paid out.
And as politics take center stage in the fight against corruption, focus now shifts to the investigating agencies tasked with resolving the matter, with the hope of finding answers to the payments said to be running into the tunes of billions of shillings. Silas Apollo, NTV.
Well, as the beat exchange between the two leaders escalates, Western Kenyan leaders want them to tone down what they call rising political temperatures. Senate Speaker Kenneth Lusaka and Ford Kenya Party leader Moses Wetangula say the exchanges between Odinga and Ruto could jeopardize a peaceful coexistence achieved by the famous handshake. Now, NTV's Zakis Masame has more.
The leaders who were speaking during a funeral ceremony in Machaha village, Sirisia constituency, raised concerns over the war of words between Raila Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto, saying the escalation in the recent past was worrying. Lusaka and Wetangula have asked the duo to be sensitive about their utterances and allow relevant anti-graft institutions to work without political interference.
For the president to preach peace and say we shook hands with Raila, tunaunganisha inji, na huku Raila na Ruto wanachapana kama kichapo cha mbwa. Raila anavuruta huku, Ruto anavuruta huku. Raila anarusha kombora, Ruto anarusha kombora.
Tupunguze makali ya siasa kidogo. Kwa sababu inji tukiweka siasa mingi mbele, hata hii agenda 4 will not work. So we must reduce the tone of our politics na tujiulize ni nini tunasema wakati una nafasi ya kuzungumza. Kwa sababu hata hii agenda 4 ambayo tunazungumzia nyingi iko katika counties.
Chini ya maumivu makali. But at the same venue, the colleagues Kimilili Member of Parliament Didmas Barasa and his Sirisia counterpart John Waluke were doing what Wetangula and Lusaka had called for an end to. The duo accused Raila of using the handshake to frustrate Deputy President's 2022 presidential ambitions.
Lakini naambia rais ambaye ni party leader yangu amewacha kushughulikia maslahi ya Wakenya maskini ambao wanaumia, anashughulikia maslahi ya handshake yake na Raila Odinga.
Na yeye akiongea kwa uongo wake, akisema NASA alikuwa anaambia nyinyi na akaruka akakucha kwetu kwa chama ya Jubilee. Sasa mafupa hiyo yote ambayo hata sisi Waluke tungekula yeye ndiye anafunja saa hizi.
The exchanges sparked by the ongoing war on graft appear to be gaining momentum, with the issue slowly turning political. Zakius Masame, NTV, Bungoma.
Away from politics, a family in Mararini in Kisii County is mourning the death of 74-year-old Charles Maroro, who was killed by his son following a protracted land dispute. Dixon Mogusu attacked his father with a machete, slitting his throat open. His father died on the spot. The two are said to have disagreed over the sale of a small piece of land that belongs to the family, and the family is still trying to come to terms with this brutal death. The police have launched a manhunt for the suspect, who escaped after committing the crime, and the police took the body to Bosongo mortuary awaiting a post-mortem examination.
Kuna kasamba huku jini ndio alitaka kuuza kalipaki, aliuza ingine na kuna Kenya kalipaki hapo. Sasa alisikia ufununu ako kasamba kanauzwa. Sasa huyu kijana ndiye alikuja akaanza kumpigia kelele, ati mbona unauza samba, unapewa pesa bila kusema. Baada ya masaa kidogo akatoka kwake na panga, akakuja akamtoa hapa kwa nyumba, akamuingiza nje, ndio akakata yeye shingo.
Slain city lawyer Robert Chisang was laid to rest today in Baringo North in the absence of his wife, Nyeri magistrate Pauline Omungala Macy, who is accused of the murder and remains behind bars. And as hundreds of mourners gathered to grieve the loss, none of his children were in attendance.
Emotions ran high in Baringo North when lawyer Robert Chisang, husband to Nyeri-based magistrate Pauline Omungala Macy, was laid to rest. Chisang's burial happening with his wife behind bars, accused of his murder. Family members could not hide their pain and agony.
Kama alikuwa na deni tungemchangia tulipe ili aspea maisha yake. I wish angefanya hivyo. I wish tungejua.
Earlier in the week, the accused senior magistrate Pauline Omungala had filed a petition through her lawyer Asa Nyakundi, citing the fact that she was the next of kin to the late Robert Chisang and should, as a result, along with her children, be the one to help organize his final send-off. Her request was, however, shot down in court. The Nyeri magistrate remains in custody. She is accused alongside 3 police officers, Sergeant Richard Lorunye Moru of Riruta Police Station, Lawrence Lempesi, a retired senior police officer in Baragoi, Samburu, and Peter Mbithi, who is attached to the Mutwini police post. None of Chisang's children attended the burial, those in attendance calling for speedy and conclusive investigations to be carried out into the cruel murder.
Wale wote ambao wameshikwa kasi ya prosecution endelee vizuri na waweko ndani. And I want to agree, the punishment for a murderer, offense of murder, the law is very clear. We are not going for less than that.
The late Chisang is said to have been shot 7 times after armed men raided his home on February 17, 2019 in Lukenya, Machakos County. Mel Miendo, NTV.
It's 18 minutes past the hour of Fast Show Break on NTV Weekend Edition. When we come back, a lot more awaiting you. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. More than 20 students from Nyabururu National School in Kisii County have been secretly hospitalized at Nyangena Hospital since Thursday of a suspected food poisoning.
According to the students who are still admitted at the hospital, the school management does not adhere to hygiene standards. They claim they normally eat food prepared from a dirty kitchen. The students claim they were threatened by the school management not to disclose the information to their parents or guardians. One of the workers at the hospital said over 20 students have been registered at the hospital since Thursday this week. A parent at the school says he was denied entry when he went to see his child at the institution.
Kama mimi mzazi nimekuja kuona mtoto hapa, nikaulizwa ni nani aliwaambia. Sasa inaonekana kuna neno fiche liko katikati hapa, hawataki watambue.
A human rights activist, Esnas Nyaramba, castigated the school management for keeping the incident secret from the parents, describing it as a serious matter.
It is so sad that mtoto wa mtu anaweza pelekwa hospitali aongezewe maji more than 5. Chupa 4, 5, 6 paka mtoto anafika mahali analia, tafadhali kama anakufa ambia mzazi wangu. Mtoto unaambiwa ulipeana mtoto akiwa salama, kesho unaitwa mtoto wako ni maiti. Is this what Nyahururu want to do to us?
Nominated Member of County Assembly Joyce Ombasa, who was at the hospital, called for immediate closure of the institution so that parents can seek proper medication for their children.
I believe that schools are supposed to be taking care of the children when they are healthy and we are not healthy, to notify a parent, because that's a right of the parent to know when a child has a problem.
The school is yet to issue a statement on the matter. Helen Wanjohi, NTV.
To something else that remains mysterious, Noel Samwells died under mysterious circumstances at the Gatanga CCM Secondary School in Murang'a County. The Form 1 student was buried on Friday at the Langata Cemetery in Nairobi, where family and friends, still in disbelief, continued to demand for answers. An autopsy report shows the 15-year-old died of a head injury. For a comprehensive report on Noel Samwells' death with key revelations, join our investigative editor Dennis Okari tomorrow on NTV Investigates, as together with Carlton Jama, they trace the last moments of Noel Samwells in the feature Death in the Dome. Here now is a sneak preview.
This girl was kind of strained. The bleeding found was fresh.
They kept on telling us she was breathing.
When I gathered courage, I said, I want to see my daughter. So they took me in where she was. From the look of things in that room, nobody had attended to her, even though the principal lied to me and said they were attending to her.
I know that where she is, she'll just be bringing the same joy that she gave to us.
She was always this energetic person. She was always happy.
The last moments of Noel Samwells in that feature coming to you tomorrow on NTV Weekend Edition. Now, the Magistrates Court Wajir has sentenced a man to 20 years in prison for participating in a gang rape last year in Habaswein. Mohammed Salah Abdi's two co-accused, that is Abdi Haziz Aden and Mohammed Kasim, are however still in hiding in Somalia, with efforts to get them failing to bear fruit. NTV's Nuruddin El Moget tells us more from Wajir.
Efforts by the court to have two suspects who fled to Somalia appear to face charges have not yielded fruit. The victims' family say government security agents have not tried hard enough.
But to an extent, I think, considering our police, they were not able to facilitate on how those people are being brought to Kenya. We are still optimistic that they can do a good job. We still implore them that in the interest of justice, they should endeavor to make sure that they bring the other two accused persons, so that at least they face the full force of law.
This morning, in a packed Wajir courtroom, family members took their seats early to follow the judgment of the case. Others kept silent prayers as the Wajir resident magistrate went through the judgment. The court partially relied on a urinary tract infection, which medics discovered in tests conducted on both the complainant and the accused.
Mambo ya maslaha ndio ilifanya hii maneno iendelee. Ile wazee zamani walikuanga wamejenga ofisi katikati ya mahakama na police station, hawa siku hizi wamepunguka. Kulingana na hii sheria mpya, watu wamemulikwa na tochi.
Because you see, defilement is not a joke. It is something that may destroy lives. So personally, I feel that even 20 years is less. It could have been given like even 50.
Jamaa vile amepewa 20 years, nadhani hiyo iko sawa kabisa. Ili iwe funzo kwa wengine, wasichezee wasichana wa wengine.
As residents debate the latest judgment on sexual offense case, defense lawyer Jamal Mohammed said his client will move to the High Court to appeal against today's judgment. Nurtin Almoge, NTV, Wajir County.
Education matters now. President Uhuru Kenyatta has reiterated that the government is taking stock of infrastructural needs of all schools in the country with an aim of plugging in the infrastructural deficit. President Kenyatta says this will boost the learning environment needed for quality education in the country. Kenyatta was speaking at Mangu High School, where he was the chief guest for the school's annual speech and prize giving day. The president promised to fund the infrastructural needs of a school worth some 140 million shillings in 2 financial years. Among those who attended the event are parents, guardians, Nation Media Group Chairman Wilfred Kiboro and former Vice President Mudi Awori, who is an old boy of the institution.
But I have said I would rather have our young men and women, even if it means learning under trees or through the windows, let them be in school. We will build the infrastructure. We want our children in school. And I want to assure you that we have already begun a process of taking stock of where our infrastructure deficits are, with the full intention of ensuring that we bring that infrastructure to match the increase in student.
Security matters now. The National Council of Churches Board of Marsabit has condemned the ongoing tribal conflict in Ronda, Marsabit, urging residents to embrace peace and unity. This is following the recent death of 4 people who were killed as a result of the conflict. Leaders in the area have also been urged to spearhead peace rather than spew hate and disunity. NCCK Marsabit wants leaders in the area to settle any disputes amongst themselves to ensure peace prevails. The religious leaders say they have toured the affected areas and they're now calling on the relevant authorities to help tighten security in the area and ensure residents have been disarmed.
Wanasiasa pia watafute namna ya kuleta watu pamoja. Kama mwanasiasa usitumie matamushi yale yanagonganisha watu. Usiongee kwa hasira. Kama mwanasiasa yoyote, ama wale wako hapa ama wale wako mahali zingine, wakiongea, hata wakiongea mahali yoyote, waongee, watumie ile lugha inaleta watu pamoja.
Elsewhere, residents of Joske in Athi River sub-county are up in arms over increased cases of animal theft. The residents have accused security agencies in the area of sleeping on the job, as they have reported the cases with little action from the police force. They have resorted to taking matters into their own hands, but their efforts have still not yielded results. Athi River Deputy County Commissioner David Juma, who is also the area security committee chairman, admitted that in the last few months there have been numerous cases, most of which have been reported, but asserted that the government is doing everything possible to curb this menace. He added that they will be empowering Nyumba Kumi groups in the area in an effort to fight the crime. Time for another short break. We'll be back with much more. Thank you for staying with us. Now, every year, the news headlines highlight cases of female genital mutilation among young girls across the country, which are then followed by a battery of anti-FGM campaigns that have since proven fruitful in reducing that number of girls that have dropped out of school as a result of FGM. However, in Mogotio, along the border of Nakuru and Baringo counties, a new trend seems to be taking root, that of married women getting the cut in a bid to save their unions. NTV's Bridget Ngana now brings us the tales of marriage by the blade.
At her advanced age, Elizabeth Parter deftly puts her affairs in order in her homestead. Mama Elizabeth, as she is commonly known, has become a refuge unto women who, and mothers whose daughters have been chased out of their matrimonial homes, the offense being uncircumcised. On this day, as is fast becoming the norm, some women with the same predicament have come for advice. Margaret Kipruto had brought her grandchild with her. Her daughter lost her marriage 3 years ago for defying her husband's command to have her go through female genital mutilation.
Kwa watoto yangu yote hakuna ile imeenda. Kwa maana hata mimi mwenyewe nimekataa kuenda kuharibu mtoto ya mwenyewe. Na sasa kwa vile hawa wanaume anaendanga na imekatazwa kwa wasichana ikai. Sasa kwa ya nini kuharibu mtoto ya mwenyewe?
The women in the room, while confessing to have undergone the cut in their days before marriage, now voice their united displeasure of how the refusal to get the cut is affecting their society. Those women who do not give in to this age-old right are fast losing their marriages, and the number of single mothers are on the rise in the community.
Lazima tutakataa hiyo mambo. Mwenye nataka kukatasha watoto yake akatai. Kama ni kuvukushwa ikae nyumbani ikae. Kwa maana hiyo hawezi penda wasichana aende kiundoni.
Mimi nilipitia hapo. Sasa hawezi nyima mtoto akienda huko. Lakini sasa hizi watoto wanasoma, bado wanasoma hapo shule za hii.
15 years ago, women would gather at Mama Elizabeth's home, but for a different reason, they would come seeking her services, the very thing she now spiritedly fights, female genital mutilation. The cut then regarded as the gateway to womanhood and marriage.
Saa ingine nalipo 200 kwa mtoto ile iko na mjamzito, kwa sababu mimi nasema sasa hii mjamzito hii inaweza letea mimi maradhi ama tabu mingi, lakini ile iko mzima ni shilingi 150.
That was the turning point for Mama Elizabeth that led her to retire her blade and take on the role of an anti-FGM campaigner. Now she wears this new hat with a fearless determination. The women tell me that the current trend of failed marriages is because of the men who seem to be the main reason behind women opting for the cut well into their marriages and even after the birth of children, for that matter.
Mara nyingi tukiongea na hao mama wanatuambia kwamba shida inatoka kwa nyumba ndani. Kuna mama alituambia mzee yake alikuwa akiambia hebu shika hiyo kitu yako, sitaki nikuse nikifanya kazi yangu mpaka nimalize. Sasa vitu kama hiyo ilifanya wengine wakaenda.
2 years ago, about 70 women are said to have undergone the cut in Banita, Nakuru County. A sizable number of those women were already married when they were cut.
Ile services hata wanaofa. Unaofariwa na mtu mwenye unakuta ni mtu mchafu. Shosho mwenye unaona ameseka si msafi. Na wakati umeshatairiwa hiyo kupona inakuwa ngumu sana.
Globally, the United Nations estimates that about 200 million women and girls are believed to have undergone some form of female genital mutilation. But now, these women are confident that their objection to FGM will yield fruit as they have partnered with a local civil rights group that has been actively reaching out to the married and creating awareness that female genital mutilation is a form of sexual violence.
We involve the stakeholders, the gatekeepers in the society. Now they come on board. They now see the effects of FGM. And so now, slowly but slowly, we've had villages where they've declared their anti-FGM villages.
In her simple home, Elizabeth Parter, a reformed
female genital mutilation practitioner has been giving advice to the women in this community to stop circumcising their daughters. Surprisingly, the men in this community continue to remain mum of an issue that still continues to be a thorn in the flesh of their women. Bridget Ngana, NTV, Nakuru.
Hashtag marriage by the blade by Bridget Ngana there, an eye-opener. Clearly the fight against FGM continues, and the reality that it keeps on taking a different face is very, very real. Well, keep your comments coming through. Remember that hashtag again, marriage by the blade. To most Kenyans, duties for the clergy revolve around the worship places such as churches and mosques, stretching slightly to other activities connected to their religious beliefs, such as burials and weddings. But in our second special feature tonight, NTV's Gabriel Kudaka brings you the unknown assignments that spiritual leaders undertake beyond the pulpit.
This is the public face of the spiritual leaders, offering spiritual nourishment and guiding their needy flock to walk in the light.
Tulianguka pale ambapo palikuwa ni babaya.
But guiding the flock isn't the only duties that these spiritual teachers do. Some of them also take on other special assignments beyond the pulpit in many. From military camps to hospitals, chaplains play a key role. But just who exactly are they?
Chaplain ni yule amefundishwa kufanya kazi across the board.
In 1974, just fresh from theological college and armed with a Bible as his main tool of trade, Reverend David Kilel was deployed to Tenwek Hospital to offer chaplaincy services. He thought he was ripe for the task, but the assignment sent him back to the drawing board.
There were those who were in the bed. I did not know how to talk to them. I recall that I had no training at all on bed-to-bed ministry.
They say necessity is the mother of invention, and in 1991, Reverend Kilel, together with the first physician at Tenwek Hospital, founded Tenwek Hospital College School of Chaplaincy, the only one of its kind in East Africa at the time.
I went to Paraton University. I went to Nairobi University. There was no enough help that time. So we say it now, there is no school on chaplaincy. So what happened was, we say, let us start the school.
About 3 decades later, the fruits of their work is being felt in different sectors.
Wametufundisha neno la Mungu. So wakati huu tunayo matumaini ya kwamba haya tu ya dunia ni mafupi tu na yana mwisho yake.
At Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital in Eldoret, we find doctors doing their rounds. They confess that in the event things don't turn out as expected, they too feel low.
So doctors are humans, and it's only natural that they cry in response to, things which happen around them.
We feel the loss, and we lose part of ourselves when our patients die. We talk to the chaplains who help us with those problems too, because we're all children of God and we all need help.
When you're attending to a patient, that patient becomes attached to you, you become friends. And if something goes wrong with the patient, it stresses even the nurse or even the doctor.
Sometimes patients think because we wear a white coat, we are doctores. But in a way we are doctors of the heart, of the spiritual things that people need.
Many know them for conducting prayers in public functions, but chaplains have another role, that of providing a listening ear to the most vulnerable. Hence the need for a new curriculum that will address emerging challenges in the society.
Today, chaplains working in Kenya today need to rethink about the interfaith communities that we are working in, the offices we are in, the schools that we are in.
The most effective way today to reach out to the community and the peoples of this nation is to reach out to institutions.
At workplaces, challenges are inevitable and feeling low is a reality. And when that moment strikes, you may just need a chaplain to heal your heart. Gabriel Kudaka, NTV.
Indeed, that is servant leadership. Well done to those priests and those going beyond their call of duty. Another short break on NTV Weekend Edition. Women and Power is next. 25-year-old Winfred Nzelani Munguti's dream of designing for the catwalk was slowed down when she fell pregnant in her final year of university. Armed with a degree in fashion design and textile construction from Maseno University, Winfred is now the manager of Multiple Fashion Kenya, an NGO that is based in Uthiru. Here, she empowers needy women by passing on her stitching skills as she also pumps life back to her dream of being a fashion designer. Her journey is a subject of this week's Women in Power.
My name is Winfred Nzelani Munguti. I'm the manager at Multiple Fashion Kenya. We give skills, sewing skills, entrepreneurial skills to needy students, especially just women. We teach them how to go outside there and source for customers. And most of all, we teach them how to be independent using this skill, especially when it comes to finances. Generally, we just take students from all sectors of life, be them educated, uneducated. When I talk about uneducated, I mean like students who have not reached class 8, students who maybe wanted to finish their Form 4 and they have not been able to finish. The other sector is that maybe there are some students who got early pregnancies. That is also another thing we consider when we are taking our students. They just pay a supportive fee of 1,500 shillings per month, which is just used for maintenance. And the other thing is just for keeping them here, knowing that they spend some little money somewhere, so they want to utilize it. So to keep them coming every day. But majorly, the program is almost fully sponsored. We have 2 sponsors from Christian Multiple Network. They are the ones who sponsor this program. We always try to source for customers so that we may get enough clients, so that we may have a bigger income, so that we may be able to get up for the expenses that are experienced in this organization. When they go to do the exams at NITA, they're expected to, for the grade 3, they pay 6,500. For the grade 2, they pay 7,500. And for the grade 1s, they pay around 8,000. So when the examination time comes, we pay for them for that exam because most of them are not able to have that money to pay for the exam. And also we always make sure we go with them to do the exams. If there's a student who have, maybe they are sick, or most of them, their mothers, maybe they have babies. We accompany them there with their babies and take care of their babies as they do the exams. When a student finishes their grade 3, grade 2 and grade 1 exams, we give them a machine. They go start life with that. There are some examples of students who have left here. You'll find them working in different textile shops, and even some have started their own businesses. Most of them are house helps. They finish their work early, so we encourage them, if they can spare some time, like they come from even from 11 to 3, they just take the course and then go back to their working places. When they go back to their home places, you'll never find, like they call us and tell us, hey, how are you, teacher? I'm doing very well. Now, Shona, all those things. So we are happy when we hear such stories. I tell any woman here to come without their babies, you will find no student in this school. Majorly because they are mothers, they come from homes, they need to do their duties at home, and also their husbands or their partners expect them to continue with their homely duties, especially without neglecting their children. I finished my university in 2016. I graduated from Maseno University. After I graduated, I worked at my first working place, that was House Designers in Kakamega. And generally, I was working there because I was not able to go home because I got a baby in my 4th year and we are at loggerheads with my guardians. So I opted to go to a nearby town to start life there. So when I came to Nairobi, I volunteered to this program because one thing, I'm as a result of someone who helped me. Someone sponsored me since I was a small kid. Primary, secondary, university. So I love giving back to the society. But one thing I have to tell women outside there is that they hold their future in their own hands. Only them can shape their future. So instead of maybe pitying yourself, looking down upon yourself and saying, my life is over, don't believe in such things. Try and look for something, especially a skill, something you can do with your hands. You know, sometimes there is a verse in the Bible that says, whatever you can do with your hands is what will make you sit before kings. If you can do something with your hands, go for it, do it, and you'll see you'll get something from it.
A typical story that reminds you when you fall, you stand up, dust off the dust, and keep going. Well done to Winfred. Another short break on NTV Weekend Edition. Brian Otwal is in studio with the latest from the sporting world.
Onesmus Mutinda bagged Kenya's second gold medal after clinching the half-marathon title. Swimmers Faith Mushiri, Shalton Waithaka, Sonali Riteshi and Kagondu Karaoke won Kenya a silver medal in the 4x25 meters relays. And Watford reached the